I recently purchased a new budget action camera, and unfortunately, while I was messing about with my helmet, taking out the old microphone and changing it for the new one, I broke the locators on my favourite visor. Now, the visor was an aftermarket visor that I bought. It was described as a light smoke. I went back to the original people I bought it from, and they no longer sold it. So I did a search looking for a light smoke visor, and all I could find basically were iridium visors, reflective silver, reflective gold, and dark black. They were described as black visors. Some of the adverts had a percentage for the tint, but I didn't know whether this was the amount of light, what percentage of light the visor let through, or how dark the visor actually was. It wasn't clear, and then it dawned on me I didn't actually know what the legal percentage of light that had to be allowed through a visor. I didn't know what that figure was. So, like any normal person, I searched the internet, went onto YouTube, and I saw some videos. Videos were 5 years old, 6 years old, 8, 10 years old in some cases. A lot of stuff they agreed on, some they disagreed on, and some information was just a little bit strange.
Are mirrored visors illegal? Yes. There is absolutely no question that by the law, mirrored visors and iridium visors are not legal at all, at no point. The reason for this, of course, is if you don't know,
the sun is a deadly laser.
And those laser beams will take out people's eyes as they reflect off of your visor. I swear to God, that is the reasoning I believe they have behind that law.
Now, admittedly, I'm not a laser expert, but I don't believe that there is a law that would do that. Otherwise, we'd have to stop having mirrors on our bikes and cars and lorries, and mirrored sunglasses, and mirror protective film in shop windows and such like. And because of the inconsistencies of some of these answers and some of the explanations that these people had for some of the reasons why they thought things were illegal, I thought I'd actually have a look at the actual relevant documents that legislate all of these helmets, visors and goggles, and then actually make a video just showing the actual relevant points of law and the facts, and not what I think. So there are a variety of helmet designs available in the UK and around the world. But in the UK, the most popular ones we'll see are these four. The first one would be an open face helmet. Sometimes it will be fitted with like a small peak and even a sun visor or a full face visor. The next is a flip up helmet, also sometimes called a modular helmet. Very popular with instructors so they can speak to students quite clearly face to face. The next is the full face helmet. This is very popular in sports, motorcycling, car racing, because it gives all-round head and face protection. And then we have the motocross style or the off-roading style. You'll see sometimes they may have a full face visor, and in a lot of cases the person will be wearing goggles. So the first thing is, regardless of what style of helmet you're wearing, is it a legal requirement to wear a helmet in the UK? And the answer to that is yes. The only exceptions to this are, 1, if you're a Sikh. Sikhs are not legally required to wear a helmet when riding a motorcycle. However, you have to be a Sikh. You can't just wake up one morning, identify as a Sikh, and then just stop wearing your helmet. 2, you don't have to wear a helmet if you're a passenger in a sidecar. And finally, as long as the motorcycle isn't moving under its own power, you don't have to wear a helmet if you're pushing the bike, or you can sit on the bike if another person is pushing the bike and the bike isn't running under its own power. So the next question we have to ask is, how do we identify whether the helmet is legal for UK use? So for a helmet to be accepted as legal for use in the UK, it has to meet one of these standards. British Standard BS 6658 1985 and carry the British Standards Institute kite mark. The UN ECE R regulation 2205. It doesn't say it here, but 2206 is a later one. It's a lot more stringent than 2205. And then an equivalent standard from a country, a member country of the European Economic Area. Here's a quick list of all of the countries available, and if they carry the same equivalent testing or standard as the British standard or the ECE R 2205, 2206, then that would be acceptable as legal in the UK as well. So before I go any further, I just want to clear up some confusion, misunderstanding and misinformation that I've seen posted on the internet with regards to the difference between ECE R 2205 and 2206. I'm not going to go into the technical differences in the two standards with the testing, but I will leave a link in the description if you want to go and have a look at that yourself. So basically 2205 has been around for 20 years or more, and with the advance in technology and the development of new materials, stronger and safer helmets have been manufactured in more recent years. Now, as to when ECE R 2206 actually came into effect, there seems to be some confusion from one site to another. But the most important thing to remember about 2205 and 2206 is this. As of 2024, all newly manufactured helmets have to comply with ECE R 2206. All helmets currently labelled with the ECE R 2205 standard, they are still legal. There's nothing illegal about them at all. And it's also still legal for retailers to sell 2205 helmets. Okay, there's nothing wrong with them. They're not any less safe than they were before. It's just that now 2206 has more stringent testing and by definition are safer as such. So where do we find all this information on the helmet itself? Normally you'll find a sticker on the back of the helmet. Here you can see the British Standards Institute sticker. And for people who don't know, this is what the British Standard Institute kite mark looks like. So you know what it is you're looking for on the helmet. And here you can see the ECE R 2205 or 2206. If you can't find the ECE R sticker on the back of the helmet, you should be able to find a label sewn into one of the straps. So here on the label you can see where it says E9. This represents the European country that the helmet was certified in. In this case, E9 is actually Spain. And then the first two numbers of the long serial number that you see, the 05, that represents the regulation ECE R 2205. Obviously, the first two numbers would be 06 if it was 2206. So when we look here on the back of my AGV, you can see there's no sticker at all. But when we look inside on the strap, you can see here we've got E3, which represents Italy, and the first two numbers of the serial number 05. So this standard is ECE R 2205. With regard to the stickers, there are two very important things that need to be pointed out here. Both the British Standards Institute sticker and the ECE R 2205, 2206 stickers can actually be purchased online. So that means that anybody could buy one and stick it onto a helmet. So always buy your helmet from a reputable supplier. Don't get it from bloke down the pub. Okay, it's not worth the risk. On some helmets, you may see a DOT sticker or an ACU sticker or both. Neither of these stickers make that particular helmet legal for road use in the UK. The DOT sticker, I believe, is American certification, which is a different standard than the European, and the ACU stickers basically say that the helmet is okay and approved for motorsports. They don't say that it makes the helmet legal for the UK roads. So if you're not sure, check the label sewn into the straps and the helmet, or check any documentation or certificates that come with the new helmet. So now we come to visors and goggles. So first of all, is it a legal requirement to have a visor fitted to a helmet? And the answer is no. There is no requirement for you to have a visor fitted to an open face helmet, a full face helmet. It doesn't matter. There's no legal requirement for you to have any visor fitted to any helmet. However, if you do have a visor fitted to the helmet, it has to be legal. So how do we determine if the visor or goggles are legal? Well, the answer is simple. Visors and goggles are just like helmets, and they have to comply with standards and regulations approved by British standards or by the UN ECE. So for visors and British standards, they have to comply with British standard 4110 1979. However, when I looked at this document, in the very same document, just a little bit further down, it then says that 4110 1979 has now been superseded by 4110 1999. As to the European standards, pretty much like the helmet, it has to comply to UN ECE R 2205. There's no mention of 2206 in this document, but just like new helmets, new visors would also have to be covered by Regulation 2206. And so finally, goggles, it says here, in the case of goggles, look for the approval to Council Directive 89686 EC, and then it cites a couple of amendments. But the important thing here is, with regards to goggles, it says here, they will be marked with a CE mark. Okay, so that's this CE mark. So the goggles should basically have a CE certification like this, either on the band or maybe etched onto the glass. And this is the same for protective eyeglasses or sunglasses that you might wear, as opposed to ordinary sunglasses that a pedestrian would wear. But what about markings for visors? So when we have a close look at one of the visors off my helmet, you can see on the left hand side there at the top it says E9. This is the European symbol, and it shows you the country that certified the visor. And below that you can see it says 051641. The 05 shows that it meets the regulation ECE R 2205. So it's basically just like the information we saw on the label that was sewn into the strap inside the helmet. So that basically defines what a legal visor is. It doesn't matter whether it's clear, tinted, mirrored, iridium or photochromic. If it doesn't have the British standard kite mark or the European standard mark, it's not legal. And for anybody who's not aware, the photochromic visors are like those sunglasses. They go dark when the sun is brighter and they clear when the sun goes in. Okay, so that pretty much covers everything to do with all the legalese with regards to the standards, the regulations and the legal requirements for the UK for helmets, visors, etc. I do still have a couple of things I need to talk about with regards to the legality of visors, but I also want to address things that I saw when I was researching all of this. I saw there was a little bit of misinformation. I don't know whether or not at the time they recorded their videos or created those documents, but as of now, January 2025, some of the things they were saying were incorrect. Also, there was a lot of ambiguous information. What they were saying was correct, but the way they were wording it made it difficult to sort of understand. So what I want to do is try and clarify all of that. So the first thing I want to look at is tinted visors. So if we have a look at the document here, the relevant part here is, so it says eye protectors used before the 1st of April 89, fitted with lenses to correct sight, blah blah, must transmit 50% or more of visible light and don't basically shatter. If you use a visor or goggles They must be approved to one of the above standards, ECE R 2205, 2206, or the British standards, and it must also be marked daytime use only, or have this sun symbol thing here. Okay. Visors that transmit less than 50% of visible light do not comply and cannot legally be used on the road. Okay. So we now know a legal tinted visor has to transmit 50% or more of the light. It has to be stamped with either the kite mark or the EU standard symbol, plus it has to have daytime use only or the sun symbol. So bearing that in mind, what I want to show here is where you could possibly get caught out. This advert is for a tinted visor on the Shui website. So it's an officially endorsed piece of equipment from that manufacturer. If we zoom in on the visor, we can clearly see that it states daytime use only. But if we scroll further down the page and look at this illustration, we can clearly see it says here light transmission 23 to 29%, and we know the minimum is 50%, and it says no to conformity to ECE R 2206. So even though you're buying an official product from the official website, it's not legal in the UK, even though it's marked daytime use only. So whenever you buy anything, whether it's from Shui, AGV, HJC, whoever, you need to make sure that it conforms to the legislation. So how do they measure the amount of tint in a visor or in the car's windscreen or windows? So basically they have a small unit that comprises of a light transmitter, a light receiver, and then the unit itself that can then tell you how much light is being received by the receiver. So the first thing they would do is calibrate the unit. So all you really need to do is send 100% of the light through unfiltered, and then the receiver and the unit knows that that's 100%. The next thing they do would be to shine the light through the tinted item, and then obviously the receiver would report to the unit and the unit would display how much of the light is getting through. Now, when we talk about the level of tint, I thought I'd explain this because I've been thinking about this totally wrong all the time. The percentage number of the tint doesn't represent how dark it is. Well, it sort of does. It actually represents how much light comes through the tint, how much is transmitted. So a 15% tint film is actually darker than a 70% tint film. 15% means it only allows 15% of the transmitted light through, whereas a 70% tint film would allow 70% of the light through. So the lower the number, the darker the tint, the higher the number, the lighter the tint. So we now know a legal tinted visor has to transmit 50% or more of the light. It has to be stamped with either the kite mark or the EU standard symbol, plus it has to have daytime use only or the sun symbol. So with that in mind, let's have a listen to what Laser Beam guy said earlier on.
Are tinted visors illegal? No, as long as they're less than 30% tint and you're not using them at night.
Okay, so first of all, he's correct. Tinted visors are not illegal. The second point, he's incorrect. He was saying 30% tint is allowed. Now, going back to the chart we saw earlier, 30% means it only allows 30% of the light through. And we know the minimum amount of light to be transmitted is 50%. Okay, so 30% means it's going to be darker. So that's false. And then he says you're not allowed to use them at night. So basically, yes, that's correct. It's got to be marked for daytime use. It's got to have the marks. And you should only use it in daylight hours. That's just common sense. But obviously, if you're wearing a dark visor at night and the police see it, you will get pulled for it. So next, there was the part about mirrored and iridium visors.
Are mirrored visors illegal? Yes. There is absolutely no question that by the law, mirrored visors and iridium visors are not legal at all, at no point. The reason for this, of course, is if you don't know,
The sun is a deadly laser.
and those laser beams will take out people's eyes as they reflect off of your visor. I swear to God, that is the reasoning I believe they have behind that law.
Okay, so I downloaded both the Word version and the PDF version of ECE R 2206. I got the PDF version basically because it's easier to read, and I got the Word version because it was easier to search. I searched through the document, through the entire document. I searched for mirrored, I searched for iridium, and I searched for reflective. And out of the 127 pages, I didn't find a single reference to reflective, iridium, mirrored visors being illegal. I didn't even find anything about them mentioned at all. So as far as I'm aware, there's nothing that specifically says that these type of visors are illegal. However, as I keep trying to emphasize, they're only legal if they carry the kite mark, the EC mark for daytime use only, or the little sun symbol. If they don't have those things, it doesn't matter. They're illegal. If it does have those things and they haven't been burned in by some bloke from the pub with a soldering iron or a little bit of etching kit or whatever it is like that, if it's been manufactured and it has the marks, regardless of whether it's mirrored, iridium, reflective, whatever, it's legal. I've never ever seen a legal iridium or a legal mirrored visor. I've seen legal tinted visors, and there is even a section in the regulations that do show all the testing procedures for photochromic. So that leads me to believe there are legal photochromic. Originally, I thought they were illegal because they were unable to test the tint from when they were not tinted to when they went dark. But in actual fact, there is a procedure. So it looks to me there is a possibility you can actually buy legal photochromic visors. That's it. Basically, the be-all and end-all of it is you need to know when you're buying one of these type of visors and it has a tint behind it, you need to make sure that it's a legal tint and it's stamped with the appropriate stamps, the kite mark or the European standards mark, and that it's marked for daytime use only. Now, it seems a little bit like I've been having a dig at that guy's video, Laser Guy's video, but in actual fact, I did watch the video all the way through, and at the end of it, he does have a little discussion, as it were, about visors, and it's very, very good advice. So at least visit his YouTube channel, Spicy110, and give him a view or a thumbs up for the video that I actually borrowed as some of the examples here. So in summary, regardless of what visor you're wearing, if it's got the appropriate marks on it, it's legal. If the visor, even if it's clear, if it doesn't have those marks, it's illegal. I've been stopped I don't know how many times for various different things, but I always carry a clear visor with me, and I've never once got in trouble for my visor, and I wear tinted and iridium visors all the time. However, if you're one of those bikers who like to pull wheelies or do rolling burnouts on the road, or you've got small number plates or tiny indicators fitted that you can't see from any distance over 5 foot, then you've just got to, prepare yourself for the consequences. Play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. Yeah? The only advice I can give you is don't draw attention to yourself. Anyway, with that, that's the end of the video. Hopefully you've learned something from the video. I know I certainly did in researching it. And thanks for watching. Okay, that's all for now. If you liked the video, then leave a like. If you didn't like the video, then leave a dislike. Either way, leave a comment, suggestion, or any questions you may have in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications on so you don't miss any of my future content. Once again, thanks for watching.